The topic of variance is one that's very easy to feel hard done by. You're playing a game of poker, you're playing Texas Hold'em, you've made good reads, you've got good pot odds, you understand the position relative to your opponent, things are going well, you're at an even table, you know the skill level of the player is roughly equivalent to your own, and you get beat because the cards in a game of randomization just didn't fall your way. You made the percentage play, but percentages have losing percentages. Speaking of losing percentages, you're doing a proxy in StarCraft and it gets blind countered. Not even scouted, just blind countered. And not because their build was more solid than yours, but because they randomly decided to make that decision. And the odds weren't in your favor, but now they're not in your favor by virtue of that. You're playing Magic the Gathering. You get mana locked, or you get mana flooded, and you have 17 if you're going first, and 15 if you're going second in a 40-card deck, or 26 and 24 respectively if you're in a constructed format, and you just lose, and there's nothing that you can really do about that. You played the percentage plays and you lost. And this is how you think you hear most people talk about variance. It would have worked out, but A, B, and C. This could have happened, but 1, 2, and 3. I did all of the right things, and I got smashed for it. But I think that that's actually a dangerous way of looking at variance, and that's something I'm coming to terms with too. So consider this. For all the times that you were a victim of bad beats, how many times did you win because of it? How many times did your opponent get mana locked? Or get mana screwed or mana flooded? How many times did your build accidentally blind counter or your YOLO SCV just manage to find something that it shouldn't because you decided to take a slightly different path and it found this really quirky out of the way tech building placement that it had no business finding? How many times does your build in StarCraft out counter your opponents? How many times are you biting your nails on the river? You've played and you're at losing odds and the card flips up and it's to your benefit. You don't think about those. You don't think about variance when it hurts you. It's great to think about, if I had just won this one more game. If I hadn't been scouted this one way. If A, B, and C. But how many times has it gone your way? How many times have you been the beneficiary of that? And more importantly for variance, how much of the variance is under your control? And did you choose to let not be under your control? So let's go back to Magic. You get mana locked, you don't get enough, you're starved. Or you get mana flooded, you get too much. Okay, you may have put the right amount of land in, but is there too much land and land fixing and on the wrong decision of the play or the draw? So for instance, you're supposed to have 17 in drought. Supposed to, if you want a statistical chance of about, I think it's 77 to hit your fourth land drop. You're supposed to have 17 if you're going first and 15 if you're going second to reap those odds. Okay, you may have the right number of lands, but are they the right color? Are your lands of the right color? Did you, in draft, did you ignore cards that could have fetched lands when you're running 3 colors, like Spring Bloom Druid and Modern Horizons? Did you forego fixing, or is there too much fixing? Did you, in Modern Horizons, did you pack 5 talismans in, and now you don't have enough removal spells, and you can generate all the mana that you want to avoid the problem, but now you're more likely to get flooded? In StarCraft, is your build so abusive that it could lose to something as simple as that scouting? Are you accepting that when you use that build, that you're going to get a lot of wins off of opponents who don't scout you, but then you're going to lose if you're up against someone who does? Do you play greedy, not just looking for economic advantage, but greedy to the point that you know you'll die to any all-in, and the only precipitating wisdom that you have to guide whether or not you should do that is that you yourself have rolled the dice and decided, I'm just willing to accept a 10 to 20% loss rate on this out the gate before the game starts because of the decision I made of what build I'm going to do. In poker, are you sitting at a better money stack than your opponent, where if you continue to grind the game out, you continue to do the long plays, you'll win, but you decide to gamble it all because you want to crush this guy, you think that you've got a good read on them, you decide that you want to win? Did you make that decision when it probably would have been better to be safer? In each one of these instances, you look back on yourself, think back to your own play, your own variance that's gone your way, and maybe you'll realize that variance is your enemy, but it's also your friend, and the goal of practice as a final food for thought is to mitigate or eliminate that variance.